Good evening. I call this committee of the whole to order. Councilor Harris will be arriving to the meeting later in this evening. All other councilors are present via Zoom. This meeting has special considerations given the governor's declaration of a public health emergency and restriction on large gatherings. Therefore, the meeting is being held via Zoom video conference. Members of the public, city staff, and the media have the ability to view this meeting live through 3 different platforms: GovTV on Comcast Channel 16, the GovTV website, and on YouTube. These live streams can be accessed from most smartphones, tablets, or computers. For those watching on the live stream, thank you for joining us. The video recording of this meeting will also remain available for viewing at any time on the City Council website. Council staff is available via telephone if members of the public need assistance finding the videos online. Please call 768-3100 for assistance during business hours, which are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tonight is the second of 3 public meetings the council is required to hold on the city's operating budget. Tonight's meeting will focus on the physical goal budgets, which include animal welfare, aviation, DMD, planning, and transit, among others. The council will hold a 3rd committee of the whole meeting on next Thursday, October 15th, to consider amendments or floor substitutes to the bills on tonight's agenda. No live public comment will be taken on October 15th, but we will accept written comments for that meeting. At the end of the October 15th meeting, the budget as amended or substituted will be sent to the Monday, October 19th City Council meeting for adoption. Public comment will be taken at the October 19th council meeting. We will now go to live public comment. We have 1 individual who has signed up to speak, and we also received written comments, which were provided to councilors in advance of today's meeting. They did not show up. Okay, so our 1 public comment request, the person has not shown up, so we'll proceed and move on past that. So we will now go to Mr. Lawrence Davis, Budget Officer. He will give us a presentation on the physical goal department budgets. Councilors will have an opportunity to ask questions of each department after they are presented. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Chair Benton. Give me 1 second to bring up the presentation. Okay. Thank you, Chair Benton and committee members. Good evening. This evening, our presentation will provide you with physical department information that is contained in the mayor's proposed operating budget for fiscal year 21. Like Chair Benton said, please feel free to ask questions during the presentation and at the end of each department presentation. I will start with a high-level overview of the proposed budget for each of the physical departments. After the physical goal departments, we have prepared a high-level overview for the proposed budget for the 3 large enterprise departments, which are aviation, solid waste, and transit. The order in the physical goal departments tonight will be legal, technology and innovation, animal welfare, city support, environmental health, finance and administrative services, human resources, municipal development, Office of the Inspector General, Office of Internal Audit, planning, and then the 3 enterprise funds: aviation, solid waste, and transit. We will begin with legal. Esteban Aguilar, City Attorney, with the legal department. In FY20, the proposed general fund budget is $6.8 million with 65 general fund positions. Operating grants fund 265, 535,000 and 3 positions. The proposed budget includes $141,000 to continue work on the attorney retention and department restructuring in order to reduce outside contractual spending costs. And the table included, Chair Benton, illustrates from fiscal year 18 to fiscal year 20, the reduction of the contractual spending costs. So as you can see, in 18, it was 1.3 million, and in fiscal year 20, it went down to 970,000. Next bullet point, 103,000 to further develop the CFPI office by expanding its operating budget and adding 1 assistant attorney position. And lastly, 46,000 for the creation of an African American Affairs Liaison in the Office of Equity and Inclusion. And that concludes our presentation for legal. Chair Benton.
Councilors, any question for legal? Proceed, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Chair Benton. Next is Technology and Innovation, Brian Osterloh, Director. In FY21, the proposed budget includes 16.4 million, 125 general funded positions. The communication fund is 11.8 million, 18 positions. The proposed budget includes a CIP coming online of 233,000 for annual information system maintenance costs, including PeopleSoft. There's also 252,000 in that is going to be transferred from animal welfare to DFAS for positions reorganized in FY21 from DTI. And lastly, the communication fund appropriation increased by 2 million to cover the per radio costs to be paid to the state of New Mexico, the SmartNet voice over IP coming online expense, the increased need for cellular devices, mainly in APD, and the dark fiber franchise fee agreement. And Director Osterloh also has a slide attached that he would like to go over, and it pertains to the COVID-19 response and DTI's activities during that time. Director Osterloh.
Good evening, and thank you. Thank you, councilors, for this opportunity. I just wanted to update the council and the committee of the whole on the efforts that have been undertaken. COVID obviously has massively impacted all of our lives. So I'll just go through a few points here. We did accomplish a rapid citywide transformation. We didn't call this a transition. This isn't a one-time thing. Rapid citywide transformation. More than 4,000 employees are now enabled to work remotely or in the field, meaning they don't have to come into work. They can if it's beneficial, or once everything returns more to normal. That capability will still exist, but they're enabled to work remotely. Infrastructure and end devices, we did add network capacity to support the remote working. We modified the way some of our network traffic goes. So it used to be, for example, you'd come in from your home into the city servers and then back out. So now if you're going to search Google or something for work-related items, you're just going straight out. You're not going through the city network. So that has offered us limitation on the amount of bandwidth being used as well. Significantly, we purchased laptops, Chromebooks, Wi-Fi adapters for desktops that people have taken home. We purchased headsets for people for Zoom and WebEx uses. So we've outfitted a large number of employees with the capability to work remotely, as noted. Software, we have increased communication and collaboration channels through things like Zoom, WebEx, Slack, which is a collaboration tool. Jabber is critical to 311 and to instant messaging, chat communications internally. And then we've implemented a number of online approval capabilities. DocuSign, I know council has seen some of the benefits of DocuSign as well. It's gone beyond just contract approvals. We now, I know in my own department, we have approvals on recommendations for hire. All kinds of documents are going through DocuSign. And then PeopleSoft, we also have a number of online approvals now that used to be in paper. For example, the cell phone request form is now online for approvals. We don't have to run paper around, which means people can stay distance, work from home, etc. Additional information services, we put out videos, information, user support, including things to watch for when you're working from home from a security standpoint. How do you get assistance? What do you do to get logged on? And then the website has been updated. We've added some functionality to make sure that public information can be maintained timely for updates and resources. I'm especially proud of 311. They've experienced upwards to 30% increases year over year for their call volume and their case volume. The agents transition to remote working. There are very few of 311, probably 4 or 5 of 311's 50 plus employees are actually working in the office now. Agents can all work from home. We have been able to accommodate those volume increases, and our service metrics are now showing, for example, service level. What percentage of calls are answered within 30 seconds? Are showing levels that we haven't seen since 2010. So very proud of 311. I think they've played a critical role in keeping the community informed and keeping us informed of the community's questions and service requests. Then finally, moving on to completely community-based, our Wi-Fi in neighborhoods efforts. You've probably heard of Wi-Fi on Wheels, which put cellular-based Wi-Fi in vehicles and positioned outside schools. That's now being used mostly by APS. They're using it on their buses. They're using our devices in their vehicles. We have expanded Wi-Fi at city facilities and Wi-Fi in city parks. We're seeing great increases in usage at those facilities and city parks. So it's not ideal to sit outside a community center and be in a classroom, but at least it's an option for people who previously didn't have an option. And we're seeing a lot of traffic increase through those channels. So thank you again for allowing me to let you know about all this. I'm very proud of the work my team has done, and very grateful for the administration and council support to accomplish these initiatives.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Councilor Davis has a question.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. And I just wanted to say, Director and Brian, the work that your team has done in the last 6 months is remarkable. I mean, there's been a lot of work happening behind the scenes, as you said, on the network and looking at some of these issues around 311 for the last couple of years. But just big kudos to you and your team. I think there are just a few departments in the city that touch every department, and they're not ones we see very often. But when COVID happened, every department, including the city council and the mayor's office to APD and family and community, needed something yesterday from DTI. And somehow you guys pulled all that off, plus helping APS and others. So a big kudos to your team for showing what can be done. I want to go back and say what a great job you've done. And I think it's really exciting to hear some of the new proposals and the new RFPs that might be coming out for expanding some of the neighborhood Wi-Fi options, et cetera, based on some of these experiences. So keep it up, and thanks for your work.
Chairman Benton, Councilor Davis, thank you very much. I'm going to pass that along to my team. It means a lot to them when it's recognized. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Director. All right, let's proceed, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Chair Benton. Next up is Animal Welfare. Carolyn Ortega, Director. FY21 proposed budget is 12.5 million, 144 general fund positions. The proposed budget includes funding for 144,000 for one full-time vet position. The HART ordinance budget will be established in the HART companion budget line item within the general fund. As you know, the original HART ordinance fund will be closed in FY21 or soon thereafter. And we will account for the 60% within the companion line budget line item. And the next bullet states, to comply with the revised HART ordinance, 60% of all net permit fees collected under the ordinance and 60% of fees for microchipping, spaying, and neutering will be transferred to and managed in the HART companion budget line item. The FY21 budget for this department is established at 30,000 for fiscal year 21. And that concludes animal welfare. Chair Benton.
Great, proceed. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Sano.
Thank you for that, Mr. Chair. I just had a question regarding some of these positions. I told my staff the story before too, but I came across a stray dog and others actually helped me wrangle the dog. But while we were waiting, it took almost 3 hours. And an animal welfare officer pretty much said that they had priority calls and there was only one staff person, and I couldn't see it in the budget here. How many are staffed to pick up stray animals or do those types of calls?
Oh, Counselor Sena, thank you. That's a great question. And Chairman Benton, thank you for having me here today. It's my first meeting. So we currently have been short-staffed on our field service officers. We are in the process of hiring 3 new officers. We are at full capacity. What our officers are doing is they're working on the urgent calls first. The strays, we are open to strays in the intake area. However, we have to prioritize because we are light in staff right now, and with COVID, with people on PEM, and so we are working on it, and we're right now onboarding 3 officers.
And just to follow up on that, because I saw that currently there was only 1 open ticket. I think my staff may have gotten an update, but with just 1 field officer, or I'm not sure if you said 1, but with the short staff of field officers, and there's only 1 open ticket. I'm just curious, is it because, with the short staff, do people, I'm not sure what the public has been doing in response to that. For me, I just took the dog and got it chip scanned and reunited it with the owners. But just, I hope that people aren't being discouraged from calling animal welfare when they do come across a dog.
They are not, Counselor Sena. We actually have been on appointment only for a little while, and we are now working on reopening it completely to the public for strays. So that will eliminate that, and that will actually go into effect on the 10th. Of course, we've had to modify our intake and our adoptions to be in line with COVID safe practices. So we had to move to the appointment process in order to keep the safe distance and COVID safe measures. But we are getting back to some semblance of normalcy, and we are considering the strays more urgent. And that has been the first area that we're starting to reopen to the public, so they can start bringing them in as they find them, so that there's not any concern with them having to house them at home, or maybe they find them when they're on their way to work. So they're now going to be considered more urgent as we start to bring our staff back to full capacity.
All right, that sounds great. And I think my husband will be happy to hear that as I've continued to pick up dogs and bring them home. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, thank you for doing that, Counselor Sena.
Mr. Chairman, I might just add that I did have coffee with Counselor Sena, and we did see a stray dog, and before I knew it, she was out there trying to figure out who it belonged to. So we thank you for that service. And as I think, as Carolyn said, we're working really hard to try and get back to some level of normalcy so that we can get to all those issues that you just raised. So thanks for bringing them into our attention.
Yes, thank you, Counselor.
Next is Counselor Bassan.
Hello, Counselor Bassan.
Hello, Director. And I just saw the email and I refreshed to make sure, but it seems like the staff already asked these questions. And we're waiting for the response. So I will save us time tonight and we'll go from there regarding what we had discussed yesterday during staff. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Mr. Davis?
Thank you, Chair Benton. Next up is city support, FY21 proposed budget of 37.6 million, 0 positions. And just to remind counselors, this is where we primarily account for and distribute our debt service out of the city and a few other functions. The proposed budget includes a transfer decrease of 277,000 to the sales tax debt service fund, and a decrease of 500,000 for the early retirement appropriation. And the primary reason for the 277,000 decrease is refundings and just annual realignment for the tax debt service fund. Next is 3 million subsidy increase to the lodgers tax fund, and 469,000 to the hospitality fee fund are to provide support to cover associated debt in the sales tax debt service fund. And this combined is the 3.5 million that we were speaking about earlier in the month, councilors. Next is one-time FY20 transfers have been decreased by 5.3 million for vehicle replacements and 700,000 to the capital acquisition fund. Lastly, continued one-time funding of 1 million to support LEADA projects is included in the budget. And that concludes city support, Chair Benton.
Councilor Borrego.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just would like to know what the let's see, I guess it's $500,000 for early retirement appropriation. What is that exactly?
Chair Benton, Councilor Borrego, each year we have an amount set aside for early retirement. We performed an analysis. It was 6.5 million traditionally. Our budget analyst performed an analysis and it is more in line with 6 million. So we reduced it by the 500,000 for this year.
So is that for paid sick leave or what is that?
What happens here is when you're an employee with the city, you accumulate your time. And if you wish to, our city policies allow you to stay out of work. You go into early retirement. However, all your duties are taken away, and basically you earn para service and use your sick and vacation time to, I guess, accumulate your para service over how many hours that you have. So basically you soft retire, if you will. So you're not at work, but you're still on city payroll. You still get the benefits. And once you run out of your time, you go into full retirement. The idea behind it is you accrue para service and use your accrued leave to do that.
Thank you.
It's a great benefit.
All right, thanks. Let's move on, Mr. Davis.
Okay, thank you, Chair Ben. Next up is Environmental Health. Director Ryan Mast. FY21 proposed general fund budget of 3.5 million, 34 general fund positions. Air Quality Fund at 3.8 million and 31 positions. The proposed budget includes 117,000 for the EV charging stations to support incoming electric and hybrid vehicles for the city's fleet. The other is 240,000 for 2 part-time mosquito technician positions and 1 marketing manager and 1 sustainability office position. Really small changes, maintenance of effort, basically, Chair Benton, and that concludes environmental health.
And I did have one question. We had a question in, I don't know if we got a complete answer to that, having to do with the process for the climate action plan, equity-based public outreach process. Is there someone who could describe what we're looking to do there?
Yes, sir. Chair Benton, is Ryan Mast, Director of the Environmental Health Department. We were able to send over a response, but in short, when we were working to put together an equity-based climate action plan, we were trying to, or we worked to ensure that there was process built into the way folks were responding or have access to the survey itself, but then also in the future development of this. So on the one side of it, we not only put the survey out in a digital format that was accessible on our website, but we also sent out 5,000 postcards to neighborhoods that had experienced high energy burden, and those were distributed in both English and Spanish, so that residents were informed of how they could actually provide those responses. In addition to that, we did in partnership with Prosperity Works, we conducted up to 300 home energy audits for homes that were experiencing high energy burdens. And those were in-person audits, and those residents were able to provide more in-depth information into the climate action survey that we have now processing. We were preparing to release the results of that survey as early as next week. As we move forward for the applications that we received for Climate Action Task Force members, there was a specific focus on ensuring that we were getting representation from individuals who lived in or worked in neighborhoods that that were low income or high percentage minorities, as well as a good representation across the city in terms of the services that are critical for those that are going to be experiencing the highest burden from the climate action over time. And so again, those task force members our applications were weighted heavy, and we will be releasing the results of the task force along with the survey results here in the coming week.
And Mr. Chairman,
Thank you, Director Mast. And you know, as you probably know, the council did pass the bill related to the it was an amendment to the passage of the energy code to try to augment that work by Prosperity Works. Is your department going to be managing that?
Chair Benton, yes, sir. We'll be continuing to manage that process because we've been working with them throughout.
All right, thank you. Councilor Sena has a question.
Thank you for that, Mr. Chair. I just had a question. I did have staff send a few follow-up questions, but just one relating to Councilor Benton's about the task force. You know, I posed this question before, is just hoping to include our youth in this process. You know, I think that they've been real leaders in this conversation around climate change, and hope that we're including them in this conversation and just thinking about the equity lens as well. It's just an age. So I hope that that's a consideration that's being made.
Chair Benton, Councilor Sena, thank you for that question. And we did take close to heart your request for that and your comments on that previously. And I can say that as a result of the climate action survey itself, we had almost 50 individuals under the age of 18 that responded to the survey. For the task force, we have 2 members of that task force that are 21 years or under that will be representing on there. One that will be representing an organization that is specifically focused on the youth voice in this. And then throughout the task force meetings, those will be public meetings where youth will continue to have opportunity to provide their input into that climate action plan.
And Mr. Chairman, I might add for all the members of the council, if there are folks in your particular neighborhoods or areas that you'd like us to engage in a more meaningful way through this process, please let us know, and we'd be happy to contact them. And the more information we get and the more diversity we get on this plan, the better we'll all be off. So just put that out there for you all to consider.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. Next is Councilor Borrego.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The question that I had, and I actually sent it on to your office, was with regard to what affiliations the city of Albuquerque has with the different national climate change organizations, and whether or not there's any opportunities for grants.
Chair Benton, Councilor Borrego, thank you for that question. Yeah, the city's actually works through several different partner organizations, city organizations, and are constantly looking for managing current ones, as well as looking for additional opportunities for grants related to both climate change and air quality. Currently, we are a member city with the Bloomberg Philanthropies American Cities Climate Challenge. They are the ones that are able to fund the position that we have for our climate advisor. We also do annual reports now to American Council for Energy Efficient Economy, as well as the Climate Disclosure Project. These are both nationally and internationally recognized organizations that help cities both track their progress for climate action goals, as well as report that out to partners that can help connect them to additional resources. I would say in addition to that, we are a member of USDN, which is the Urban Sustainability Directors Network, which is the city's network that helps provide information sharing across city leaders to make sure that we are using the best practices that we can. And we have been able to receive grants already. One that helps support the work that Prosperity Works is doing during the Climate Action Plan survey process. as well as securing funding from FDA's low and no emissions grant. This is in addition to some of the work and the partners and the networks that we're a part of as it relates to EPA. So earlier this year, we joined as an affiliate partner to their Smart Ways program. That's an outreach program to help commercial fleets find ways to reduce their emissions. As well as in the coming months, we're looking to also become part of EPA's Ozone Advanced program that would help address the ozone challenges that we have here in the city. So constantly looking for additional opportunities for that, but we're already very connected with a lot of the leading cities as it relates to climate action.
I appreciate that answer. I was gonna hold off and not ask it during this time because I had already asked it. But you know, there are some things that NASA's working on and the UN, and I think that the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So I really do appreciate that you all are already keyed into some of those programs.
Chair Benton, Councilor Borrego, thank you for that. And if you do have any other ones that you'd like us to explore, feel free to send along to our office. We're always looking for new opportunities.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mast, or Director Mast. Mr. Davis, proceed.
Thank you, Chair Benton. Next is Finance and Administrative Services. Director Renee Martinez. Proposed general fund budget of 10.5 million, 81 general fund positions. Other funds, 62.4 million and 80 positions. And we'll take it broken out by different programs. General fund, 168,000 for 2 positions that were transferred from DTI to the Office of Performance and Innovation. Next is Lodgers Tax, Fund 220, and then Hospitality Fee, Fund 221, combining funding decrease of 3.8 million due to anticipated decrease in revenues. Primarily due to COVID, as you know. Debt service is subsidized from the general fund at 3.5 million. Next is Risk Management, Fund 705. Funding of 1.5 million is added for workers' compensation claim expenses. Next is Fleet Management, Fund 725. Funding of 725,000 and is decreased in the fuel line item, and 553,000 is added for outside vehicle maintenance that is recovered through revenue. Vehicle/computer replacement fund 730, one-time funding of 700,000 is included for public safety vehicles. And that concludes Finance and Administrative Services. Chair Benton.
Thank you. Proceed.
Next is Human Resources, Acting Director Barbara Ruiz Salazar. Fiscal year 21 general fund budget of 4.5 million. 26 general fund positions. The proposed budget includes one-time funding of 73,000 for bilingual testing, professional development, and labor negotiations contract. Risk management is 1.9 million, almost 2 million, 5 positions. The major impact or major change there is funding for unemployment insurance claims is increased by 500,000 in anticipation of COVID-related claims. Next is group self-insurance at 85 million, 0 positions. And as you know, this is a new program in FY20 and continues with an adjustment of 6.8 million to cover claims and operational expenses associated with increased medical insurance costs. Employment insurance is next at 7.4 million, 12 positions. The major change there was one-time funding of 300,000 is deleted as an RFP for flex benefits was completed in fiscal year 20. And that completes Human Resources, Chair Benton.
All right, thank you. Proceed to the next department.
Next is Municipal Development, Director Patrick Montoya, FY21 general fund budget of 49.3 million, 338 general fund positions. Other funds of 17.8 million, 112 positions. The proposed budget includes 844,000 for the transfer of real property from planning to DMD. Next is 798,000 for the Regional Traffic Management Center, allowing for better response and quicker clearance of traffic incidents. And finally, 376,000 for 7 additional security officers to increase public safety on the transportation system. That concludes DMD. Chair Benton.
Counselor Bassan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you, please, Mr. Davis, can you clarify why only some transit security and facility guards and crossing guards are moving over to the new ACS and not all of them?
Chair Benton, Counselor Bassan, I believe we have somebody in the mayor's office that may be able to take that question.
Thank you. Maybe Director Montoya is there or?
Mr. Montoya or?
Mr. Chair, Councilor Bassan, so I believe that the intent here is to keep DMD security with security itself within our own department. So the positions that are being transferred are those that once transferred over from transit. So it's 42 transit security officers that came to DMD last year that are planned to be moved into the new department.
And is there a reason, Director, why some crossing guards are moving, but not all of them?
Mr. Chair, Councilor Bassan, all of the crossing guards are moving over. It's 152 crossing guards, 5 leads, and then the division manager, Yvette Sierra. So the entire crossing guard program is moving to the new department.
Okay, thank you. And then, let's see. And then I have a note of, is the deputy director requested staying or moving to ACS?
Mr. Chair, Councilor Bassan, the current plan is to keep the deputy director that's within DMD, Paul Rogers, to oversee the security division within DMD. So to answer your question, at this time, there are no plans to move that position or that individual over to the new department.
Okay, thank you, Director.
All right, thanks, Mr. Davis. Proceed.
Thank you, Chair Benton. Next, we have the Office of Inspector General, Ken Bramlett, Inspector General, FY21 proposed general fund budget of $520,000 for general fund positions. And basically this is a maintenance of effort budget. The proposed budget includes an increase of $15,000 for operational costs associated with the position that was granted in fiscal year 20.
All right, thank you.
Chair Benton. Next, we have Office of Internal Audit. Acting internal city auditor is Ken Bramlett. Sorry for that. There's a typo there. It's not the Inspector General, should be acting city auditor. FY21 proposed general fund budget of $935,000, 8 general fund positions. The proposed budget includes no major changes and is just a maintenance of effort with technical adjustments.
Thank you.
Next, Chair Benton, we have Planning Director Brennan Williams. Fiscal year 21 proposed general fund budget of 15.7 million, 168 general fund positions. The proposed budget includes moving MRA from planning to economic development. This reduces planning's budget by 842,000 and 6 positions. Next is 319,000 to add 4 designated community area planner positions in the urban design and development division. Next is 300,000 in abatement funding moves from AFR to planning. Of that amount, 178,000 will be transferred to the refuse disposal fund to support the after-hour emergency board ups of solid waste, who performs those activities. One-time funding of 58,000 is included to update the Posse LMS system, which is a land management system. And that concludes planning, Chair Benton.
All right, thank you. Next.
Next, we'll go on to our operating fund appropriations for our 3 enterprise fund departments. The 3 largest enterprise funds are also separate departments. They include aviation, transit, and solid waste. We also have similar smaller enterprise funds embedded within departments such as the parking fund within DMD. The slide shows a comparison of fiscal year 20 approved budget and the proposed budget. The amounts displayed in the current table include the reductions due to COVID and other transfers that were reduced for fiscal year 21. We'll begin with aviation. The vast majority of that decrease is primarily due to a $16 million reduction to aviation's capital fund, which occurred in fiscal year 20 for various projects over at aviation. Next is solid waste, which includes the rate increase, which we will get to in a couple of slides. And transit, the major reduction there, of course, is CARES funding and the subsidy reduction for that transit will be using FTA CARES funding to support those activities now for FY21. We'll start with aviation. Nika Allen, Director. Fiscal year 21 proposed operating budget of 65 million and 294 positions. The proposed budget includes FY21 intra-year position creations of a personnel coordinator, loss prevention manager, and digital content coordinator at a net cost of 363,000. Next, a transfer to capital decrease of 16 million. Next, in collaboration with Parks and Rec, 100,000 is included to assist and make improvements to the Argo Ecology Center for Food Garden located on aviation property. And lastly, Chair Benton, 100,000 increase to the Merton fee appropriation, which is offset by revenue. And that concludes aviation.
All right, thanks. Proceed to the next.
Right, next we got solid waste. Director Matthew Whalen, FY21 proposed operating budget of 77.3 million, 481 positions. A rate increase is proposed effective January 1st, 2021 in order to provide additional funding for services in recycling, as well as new services in the Clean Cities Division for the art medians and homeless camp cleanup. Next, the proposed budget includes a funding transfer for after-hour emergency board ups to solid waste, increasing the transfer from general fund by 178,000 to fund a supervisor and laborer position related to those operations. Next, we got bringing the Big Eye median services in-house, which will add 5 full-time equivalent positions and reduce contractual dollars for a net savings of 62,000. Finally, continued funding of 600,000 to support the clean and safe block by block program. And next, Chair Benton, we have Director Whalen, who will present a recycling update for the Solid Waste Management Department. Director Whalen. I believe he's in the mayor's office, Chair Benton, mayor's conference room.
Okay, thank you, Council Chair and Councilors. What we'll do is we'll go through an update here that talks about our rate structure, a little history about our rates, and kind of where we are today after COVID and where we're headed. So if we can go to the next slide. So the history of the rate increase is going back to 2010. In fiscal year 2011, a residential rate increase for operations was instituted. This was the first year that we actually did a cost of service analysis. Prior to that, I don't think they were doing cost of service analysis annually. What that cost of service analysis showed was that a residential rate increase was needed by $2.16 or 20%. The prior rate was $10.75, and this increase went into effect July 1st, 2010, but it was fiscal year 2011. And again, that was just because of the cost of service study, which showed that what we were charging was not enough for the level of services that we were providing. And then in fiscal year 2015, there was a rate increase, and this was for 2 things. Number 1, capital projects that needed to be done and equipment that needed to be updated, but also this was the year that it was decided that the medians would move from the Parks and Rec Department in the general fund to solid waste in the enterprise fund. The increase went into effect in 2015 fiscal year, and the residential increase was $2.09 or 17%. There was also at that time a 5% increase in commercial rates. Now, the reason why there was a percentage increase in commercial compared to just a straight dollar increase in residential was that our commercial rates are very variable. There are a lot of factors that you have to take into when it comes into a commercial customer, whether the size of the container, the frequency of the pickups, or anything like that. And the residential rate is just a straight 4 times a month, you get residential refuse picked up and your recycling bin. So the rate went from $12.91 at that time to $15 for residential. Next slide. So the 2015 rate increase was for 2 things: capital improvements, and for medians. The capital improvements, the rate increase would be to be able to pay our debt service payments for capital projects. This would be the bonds that we received to do these following projects: our vehicle maintenance and administration building, the transfer station, and to catch up on our equipment and vehicles. The second portion was for median maintenance. At that time, we inherited 602 acres of medians, 25 full-time employees, and 40 seasonal temps, as well as some equipment and supplies. And that rate increase was just to maintain that level of service. Next slide. So currently, the annual cost of our 2019 cost of service shows our 2020 cost of service has not been completed, as 2020 just ended 3 months ago, and it'll take some time for us to get the final numbers. And then our consultant will do our 2020 cost of service, but we're usually about a year behind. So we go by the prior year's cost of service. This year's cost of service for fiscal year 2019 shows that in the commercial rates, it costs us, and I can't see that far, so I'll turn to, shows that it costs us about $154 a ton, and the revenue received off of that is $169, which gives us an approximate revenue of about $15 per ton in the commercial rates. Our residential rates cost us about $158,000 a ton, and I'm sorry, cost per ton is $239, and what we receive from that is $214, which puts us at a deficit of about $24 currently at our residential rates, and that's due to several factors. But what we need to consider here is this commercial cost of service does not include COVID, and we'll get to that in a moment. Next slide. So what's included in our current cost of service rates? What that is, we also have our convenience centers, which is included in our cost of service. And as you can see, each one of our convenience centers, to be able to offer a good level of service to the residents, we include that in our current rate structure. So in fiscal year 19, our convenience centers total were in the negative of 1.7 million. Actual fiscal year 20, we're right there at 1.7 million, but our estimated fiscal year 21 is about 1.9 million, and that has to do with an uptick that we've been seeing through the COVID pandemic, and we'll get to that in a following slide. Next slide. So since 2015, when we absorbed the median program, these are things that have happened since then. Our medians have increased by 26 acres to 628. We're going to receive an additional 16.1 acres in fiscal year 21, but also nothing was included for non-major median renovation. And when I talk about non-major median renovation, you have to think of two things. Number one, our medians have about a 20-year life cycle. So that means after 20 years, maybe a little bit longer, they need to be remodeled, or new sprinklers may need to be put in, new trees may need to be put in, new electrical boxes. But also what it includes is if a median is destroyed, for instance, if there's an accident and a car takes out a portion of a median, we have to go back in and repair that. We have to go back in and fix whatever's broken or has been damaged. So that was not included. And so to date, we have done about $100,000 of median renovations in 2015, since 2015, that we have not been budgeted for. We've just had to find areas where we've cut expenses to be able to remodel or remediate some of our medians. Also, the Clean Cities Department has taken up the board ups as well as the liens, and now we're adding emergency after hour board ups to our services. We also do homeless encampment cleanups, and we've also added block by block has been extended to Nob Hill. All of these things have happened since 2015 when we received the medians in our department. Next slide. The current rate increase that we're proposing. The current rate increase that we are proposing is based on our 2019 cost of service. Our 2019 cost of service is suggesting that we go to $16.90. The current rate of $15 is what we have. We are proposing an increase to $1.55 or 10%, which is about half of what the original increase for operations was in 2011. So this will bring an additional 1.6 million for the remainder of fiscal year 21. And for a full year, it'll bring in an estimated 3.2 million in our residential rates. Next slide. So if you look at if you compare our rates to the rates of those in cities near us or around us, you'll see that our rates are the lowest thing going right now. At $15, we are cheaper than Santa Fe. We're cheaper than Tucson, which is $16.75. We're cheaper than Bernalillo County, which is $17.66. We're cheaper than Rio Rancho, which is $17.73. We're cheaper than Las Cruces, which is at $21.27. We're cheaper than Los Alamos, which is at $25. We're cheaper than Phoenix, which is $26, and they only offer a 90-gallon can. We give you a 96-gallon can. We're cheaper than El Paso, which is at $30, and we're cheaper than Austin, which is at about $43.50. One key note, this is a monthly charge for 4 pickups for refuse and recycling. One thing to note is that Tucson only does every other week recycling. Bernalillo County only does every other week recycling. And Rio Rancho just had a rate increase, and they went to every other week recycling. El Paso also does every other week recycling, and there are several other major cities that have gone to this model. We've continued our same level of service for residential customers since 2018, and we haven't instituted any rate increase, or we haven't decreased any of the services that we provide to the residents of the city of Albuquerque. Next slide. So there have been some effects since COVID has taken place. Since COVID, our commercial refuse has decreased by 579 weekly pickups. Now, that doesn't mean that 579 businesses closed. Some businesses have closed, but what it means is that we've reduced the number of pickups per week. And for example, Applebee's used to get picked up 6 days a week. They have gone down to 2 days a week. So from that customer, we lost 4 pickups. So there are several businesses throughout the city that have all reduced. The current number is a 579 reduction in weekly pickups. What that translates to dollar-wise, that's an estimated loss of about $1.6 million annually if we continue that trend. Our residential recycling and refuse has increased. Our refuse has gone up 82 tons from April through August since COVID. Our recycling has gone up 9%, about 14 tons since April through August, and this is all effects of COVID. Next slide. One of the other things that we're seeing is our scheduled large item pickups has increased. It's increased 27%, or 12,150 pickups when comparing fiscal year 19 to fiscal year 20. A scheduled large item pickup is something that's part of our rate structure. So if you have an old couch, an old fridge, or something you want to get rid of that you cannot get to the landfill or to one of our convenience centers, you can call 311 and schedule it. We will tell you when to put it out on the curb, and we'll send a truck as part of a route to pick it up. What we've also seen is that our convenience center visits have gone up by about 68%. So a lot of the refuse that used to be in people's garages or in their backyards has now been taken to our convenience centers as their home, doing all the honeydews that they hadn't done in the past. And also you have to understand that this is included in our current cost and rate structure. Next slide. Another thing that we are seeing is an illegal dumping within the city. And when I say within the city, everything around here is within the city, but what we're seeing that we haven't normally seen is usually illegal dumping takes place in empty lots, vacant lots, or out on the West Mesa, or in certain areas where there are no residents, a condensed residential area or a condensed business area. But what we've seen through COVID is that these things have increased by 110%. And that's when somebody doesn't call 311, they don't contact us, but what they do is they just take it to the nearest dumpster they see, and they drag it out onto a street corner, or they drag it into the side of a building, or they just place it out on the street. Next slide. So the total sites cleaned fiscal year 20 was 3,400, and fiscal year 19 was 1,600, and that's where we get the 110% increase. And we've continued to see that trend going into fiscal year 21. Next slide. So that's the effects of COVID, but now recycling's gone up by about 9%. So there's a blue line right there, and that blue line is halfway through 2011. So prior to 2011, from 2008 to 2011, we operated our own IPF out at the landfill. A key thing to note here is the green line on that chart. Up to that green line is what we were processing ourselves. That was the capacity we could handle, which was about 10,000 tons. Now you have to understand, this was prior to us instituting residential recycling, where every resident got a 96-gallon can. Prior to this, we just used our recycle sites. They were scattered throughout the city. I think at one point we had 52 of them, but also our commercial recycling. Now that brown part that's above the green, That was stuff that we couldn't process or was in excess of what we were able to process. And that amount, which was about 7,000 to 10,000 tons in that time frame, was being sent to Friedman Recycling, but not Friedman Recycling here. It was sent to one of their other plants. I think it was in El Paso. In 2011 is when we instituted the curbside recycling program, and all 178,000 residents of the city of Albuquerque received a blue 96-gallon can that would be picked up once a week, 4 times a month. And you can see from that point forward, the residents of the city of Albuquerque really bought into our recycling program. And that's when we went into a contract with Friedman Recycling. They built a facility here in Albuquerque. And you can see to date, we're doing about 50,000 tons a year of recycling through that plant. So the residential carts really increased our amount of recycling. Next slide. Now, a key to note here is the composition of our recyclables. A composition of our recyclables are what makes up our recyclables. So as you can see, non-recyclable is at 31%. So non-recyclable, or that 31% is considered residual or refuse, which means it's stuff that should not be going into your recycle can. Or if you have recyclables in your can and you throw something in there like paint, gasoline, oil, anything that would contaminate anything in the can, that is basically what that is. It's things that have to be separated from the recyclables and discarded as refuse because they're not recyclable. And our current rate is 31%. The rest of our composition is scrap metal at 0.7%, rigid plastics at about 3.3%, plastics 3 through 7 make up 0.2%, aluminum is 1.1%, steel cans about 1.5%, plastics number 2 colored is at 1.3%, plastics number 2 natural are about 1%, plastics number 1 are right at 4%, and old corrugulated containers, which include cardboards, is at right at 21%. And then what makes up the most of what we have is mixed paper, which is 37.6%. Now, this is important to note because as we look at the next slide, this shows the contamination rate for other cities. Las Cruces is at 24.7, Phoenix is at 43, and El Paso is at 28. So we're right in the ballpark with major cities in our area. Some cities like Cleveland are upwards close to 70% contamination rate. So we're expecting to see our contamination rate go up from 31%. We do a contamination rate audit annually. We haven't done it this year because of COVID, but we'll be doing it within the next 30 to 60 days. Now, the reason why I say we expect it to go up is because as COVID has gone through and we've seen an increase in our recycling percentages, we've been spot checking to see what's going into our recycle bins. And we've noticed that as people's black bins or refuse bins are getting full, they're starting to throw some of that refuse into their recycle bin. So we're expecting to see that increase by a little bit. Next slide. So here's a key component. This slide shows what the current market is for recyclables. There are markets for recyclables. However, they're just not as lucrative as they were in the past. Prior to 2018, when China instituted the national sword and stopped taking most of the world's recyclables, it really changed the market since 2018. So at that point, the average cost per ton for recyclables was about $120, $125 a ton. It's gone down to about $50 a ton. But this breaks it out as to what we accept and what the market is bearing right now. And you can see that cardboard is at about $80 a ton. Mixed paper is less than $5 a ton. Plastics number 1 is about $180 a ton. Plastics number 2, natural, which is very lucrative, is about $950 a ton. Plastics number 2, colored, is right at about $80 a ton. Steel cans, $80 a ton. Aluminum has always been strong. It's at about $680 a ton. Plastics 3 through 7 is less than $10 a ton. Rigid plastics is about $50. Pots and scrap metal is about $75 a ton. Now, this slide is important because it shows what the market is buying and what it's paying right now. When you compare that to the composition of our recyclables that we recycle here and what we mainly bring in the city of Albuquerque, it'll show you on the next slide. Now, this slide shows that we bring in 37% or 36% of mixed paper, which is less than $5 a ton. That's why there has been an excess of expense when it comes to our recycling. You can see that the most profitable ones like natural plastics number 2 and aluminum, we bring in less than 1% of that, which kind of goes to the saying that a lot of the things that are profitable, most people keep and they recycle themselves. We've all collected cans and recycled them at some point. The rest of the things that are a little bit more profitable, we still bring in less than 1% or 5 or 3% of those. So that's what's caused some excess expenses during this time, and that's what's caused excess operational expense since 2011 and 2015. So at that slide, I'll stand for any questions, or if you want to see another slide, you can or see a slide again, you can let Davis know, Lawrence Davis know, and he can go back.
Any questions for Director Whelan? Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Director. Thanks for that. It's always good to see these numbers, and I realize it's been hard to do. I want to go back really quickly to the question around rate increase proposal. We had this discussion yesterday a little bit, and I want to sort of have it with the rest of the council very briefly ahead of next week. You know, for example, when we did the last rate increase, or when we did the rate increase in 2011, we did it to pick up for the cost of doing business, but also we added curbside recycling service, for example. And when I saw the numbers around alley cleanups and illegal dumping cleanups, for example, I think every counselor here in every district, as you know, is experiencing issues with this, as you talked about. I'd love to see us not just use this rate increase just to cover cost of service, but to really fund what's necessary to do the work that our citizens need to be done. And your department has stepped up to do landscape medians, to do alley cleanups, et cetera, illegal dumping. Do we have an idea of what it would cost to expand alley cleanups, for example, and neighborhood cleanups, clean cities a little more? For example, if we had to expand the number of teams to allow us to take all those calls within, say, 24 hours or 48 hours, for example.
Councilor Chair and Councilor Davis, thank you for the question. We have done some preliminary numbers as far as, because what we've done is we haven't just waited for calls to come in on a couple different Saturdays. What we've done is we've taken a Clean City crew, we've taken 2 rear packers and just gone into a neighborhood just to clean it, because we've noticed there was a need, and those costs can be pretty substantial when it comes to having designated crews just to do that. One thing we want to be cautious of when we do something like that is we don't want to keep encouraging bad behavior. If we have those crews coming every Saturday, then people will just start bringing everything out to the street. But we can come up with an actual cost of what that would be to add crews to that. And it wouldn't take, I can get that to you within a day or two.
And Director, I think that would be really helpful. And this is what I would ask just for the chairman and specifically for Ms. Yara, Mr. Muniz, and our staff in the budget to help us look at this and say, if we're going to raise, it's time to raise rates. It's just a bad time to do it in the scope of where everything is right now. But if we're going to raise rates, say $1.50, I'd rather raise them $2 and pay for the extra teams we need to do the rest of that work. Because as another counselor mentioned yesterday on our call with you, if we're going to sort of bite the head off of this thing, let's only do it once. Like, let's really give you the resources you need to respond to those calls. Your teams are great about doing that, and they do prioritize it when folks call us and it becomes an issue. In fact, I've got another one I need to call about. But yeah, it would be great. I'd love to see what those numbers would be. I would much rather do a slightly larger increase in order to create the teams we need to do the rest of that work in a real robust way. Graffiti cleanup is a really great example. You all do that within 24 hours, often just an hour or two every morning from getting those calls. It works really well. It was definitely worth the rate increase years ago to do that. And I'd love to see us do that for the cleanups. That said, the other rest of that money should also go for things like code inspectors that work hand in hand with your folks, whether those inspectors live in solid waste to do illegal dumping enforcement, or we cross-train some code enforcement folks to do better illegal dumping. I don't think it's an either or. I don't think it's just your job to clean it up. I think we do have to go after those violators. We know many of them are landlords that are kicking folks out and dump their stuff in the alley, for example. We see that time and time again. So I'd love to have some resources to do that. And I do think it's appropriate for us to do that through the increase. So if you'll help us figure that out with our staff, I'd love to look at those numbers with you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next is Councilor Borrego.
Oh, thank you. And Director Whelan, thank you for that presentation. I should have asked you this question this afternoon when we met. But I had to think a little bit more about it. I know that, you know, you guys do the homeless encampments and you move people out. And I think we have a partnership with NMDOT and AMAFCA and some of our other organizations around, agencies around the city. Do you have an idea on the average of what it costs to move an encampment out? Or I guess it depends on the size, but it'd be interesting to see where, you know, sort of document geographically where these encampments are happening. And I presume that you already have this information, but I'd like to know a little bit more about it. And you don't have to answer tonight, but I am interested in knowing and whether or not we share costs with these other agencies when we do move them, like out of the arroyos or out of the ditches or wherever they're located. Do you have that information? Do you track that information?
Council Chair and Councilor Borrego, yes, we do. And we do have a current partnership with the NMDOT. They do give us some funding for some of that stuff, but we do track that. And I know to date in fiscal year 20, we cleaned up 306 homeless encampments, and that's gone up from prior years. We do track the cost, but it is hard to allocate an exact cost to each pickup because each pickup is different. Some may require additional services. Some may require people with hazmat. We may need to bring in some of our hazardous, our partners at ACT, at Advanced Chemical Transport, if they need to come get something. But something that's in this cost that we have that we would have to work with other city departments is we go in with APD and with some people from cultural services that go in when we go in to clean them that offer services. So it's really a coordinated effort to go in and do it. We don't just show up and clean something up. If we get a call, we coordinate it with the right other agencies so that we just go in, because what we don't want to do is just go in and move people, because our employees are not trained in how to deal with them, how to offer them services. So I can give you our cost, but there is additional cost when it comes to APD and family and community services.
One of the things that I'd really kind of like to see is if we could get like a median cost, you know, I mean, based on that information of 306 homeless encampments, it'd be interesting to know if, you know, if there was a you know, sort of a medium range. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention is in my district, there's always big mattresses at Atrisco Vista and Paseo right at the end of that area. And I know you guys pick them up, but I just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, we can come up with, Councilor Chair and Councilor Borrego, we can come up with an average cost of what it is. And I think right off the top of my head, just from our side, it can be anywhere between $800 and $1,200 when we do this.
Is that for per pickup? I mean,
Yeah,
per encampment?
per site, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Next is Councilor Pena, then Councilor Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hey, Wayden, I just want to start by saying, like I told you in our briefing the other day, I think you do a phenomenal job. I really appreciate, you know, the timeliness and addressing some of the concerns in the community. You know, it's really important, and I just appreciate you and your department and your staff for all the work they do, because they're the ones that work more days, 365 days or 364 days a year, you know, yeah. Something like that. So anyway, but what I wanted to ask is kind of along the lines of what Councilor Davis was talking about. You know, I was curious about, do you partner with planning, like a code enforcer? Like, could you utilize a code enforcer? Because I mean, when you go out and you address and pick these things up, sometimes they're reoccurring. And so, you know, if there was some kind of connection between planning, or if you needed a code enforcer to be able to address those kind of repeat offenders, would be awesome. And then my other question is just along the lines of, you know, Freedman in our recycling program, as you know, I've been concerned with that since inception, and this wasn't part of this administration, but the prior administration. And when we're looking at this tax increase, again, along the lines of what Councillor Davis was saying, is that when we're looking at it, you know, I've always been interested in the city, you know, building their own MRF and processing our own material. And, you know, in light of what's happened with COVID and you know, in China, we're really kind of held over a barrel, and now we're paying out substantial amounts of money to Freedman, when if we had our own processing plant with the MRF, we could actually process these materials, store them as needed in an appropriate place. So I guess a long-winded question to say, is there any consideration of adding more dollars? I mean, I guess council would make that decision, but adding more increasing the rate increase to make accommodations for us building our own MRF?
Council Chair and Councilor Pena, thank you for that question. The first part of that question is we do work with planning and their code enforcers, because they have an enforcement ability that we don't have. So we do have code enforcers, but our code enforcers are a little bit different. What they do is they go out and, for instance, if you had an apartment complex and we're getting complaints that your container is consistently full, they go out and evaluate how many pickups you need. We don't let that customer tell us, I only want one pickup. If we go out and our person says, nope, that place needs 4 pickups, then we tell the business, you need 4 pickups. That's what we're going to do. But what we don't have is the ability to fine or to put a lien or anything like that. So we do work with planning, but we could use more code enforcers on our end, and we could use more. I know planning could use more because we're kind of stretched thin when it comes to those. So we're kind of just handling the worst ones first as we get them, but we continue to go down that road. So we do work with planning, but yes, we could use more code enforcers. And then the second part of your question about a recycling plant, that is something that we are really considering looking into to see what the cost would be and how that could play out. I think one of the only ways to really find that out would be to do an actual study, have a consultant come in and do a study to see what it's costing us, somebody who knows the markets and knows the fluctuations of the markets, because now 2 years, almost 3 years into the national sword, we know that the markets probably will never come back to the glory days of pre-2018, where there was a lot of revenue in recycling. But what we know is that the markets are kind of stabilized and new domestic markets are popping up, and they'll continue to pop up. They just take time to build facilities. So I think that's something that it's worth looking into.
So I intend to ask for a study. I mean, I don't know whether you're already doing it, and I don't need to do that, but I think it's important because even if we developed a regional facility, it could actually be a revenue generator for, you know, for the city, not just with our own revenue generation from the materials that we have, but, you know, as you know, from small communities throughout the state, they really are left with burying most of this material. So, I mean, talk about recycling and becoming a state that really, you know, cares about, you know, our state as a whole. I think it would be pretty awesome to do that. So lots of small communities are burying their trash.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just think it's something that we really need to do. I was working on this before, you know, I like to talk trash. So anyway, thanks. You do a great job.
Thank you, Councilor.
Director Whelan, along the lines of what Councilor Pena was just asking, do we have a rough idea of what Freedman paid to build their facility?
Council Chair, yes, we do. I started looking into this week. Their facility sits on 16, almost 17 acres, and I think it cost them about 22 to 23 million. I don't know the exact number because I didn't get it from them, but I can remember going back looking at some of the prior stuff. So, and that was back in 2011. So if you dollarize that 10 years forward, it would probably cost us about between 27 and 30 million, I would think.
Yeah. Yes, Councilor Benton. And so what I was doing when I was the president of SWAN, you know, and as Johnny actually worked for the city of Albuquerque and solid waste, and we knew the necessity because the MRF that we had as a city just couldn't process the amount of materials that Director Whelan's talking about. So we know, and it was pretty antiquated. So then what at the time, what I was doing is I was going to Santa Fe as a SWAN member, asking them to give money to the city of Albuquerque for a MRF. And I think we had acquired money. I think some of it actually was utilized for this Freedman thing that happened. But at the time, long-winded story to say, at the time, it was about $10 million. And so since I was figuring, I guess, kind of what you're talking about, Director Whalen, I was thinking it's probably 20 to 30 now, which is, something I think if we do the increase, we can bond on it and pay for that MRF and do not only city recycling, but regional recycling as well. So anyway, just a thought.
Councilor Gibson.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to, lend my support to Solid Waste. I think that they've done a really good job and have been very flexible, working with the neighborhoods and problem issues. And I'm just really grateful to the director for all of the efforts that his department put forth to make Albuquerque look good. So at least right now, I'm solidly in favor of this rate increase, and would tend to agree with Councilor Davis that if we're going to get one bite of the apple, let's make this worth our while and plan for a future. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Gibson. I have a couple of questions myself. Director Whalen, I noticed the total graffiti sites cleaned has kind of dipped down since 18 and projected to continue to dip down. Are we just getting less reports of graffiti?
Council Chair, I think part of that is really attributed to our employees. I think our graffiti crews do an excellent job of a lot of them are, I'll say this, some of them, not a lot of them, but some of them are ex-graffiti artists, and they take pride in taking it down as soon as it goes up, because they understand that the longer it stays up, the more encouraging it is for somebody to do it again. And it's more discouraging when you get it down as soon as possible. So a lot of them, we redistrict them, we make sure they ride their districts, and we tell them, you don't have to wait for somebody to call. If you see it, remove it. And they've taken pride in doing that, and they've taken pride in their district. So it's really attributed to our employees just really taking it seriously and being very efficient in what they do. And we're trying to just discourage it.
Okay. Let's see. Next is Councilor Sena, and then Councilor Borrego again.
Thank you for that, Mr. Chair. I just had a question, and speaking of what Councilor Pena was just mentioning too, I'd love to see about what a study could look like, because also including composting. Youth actually brought forward to me their own plans. It's called the Composting Crew, and they were hoping to see that at a citywide level. But I do know, parts of Rower Markets actually have green buckets where you can bring your compost, your food waste, and in exchange, and the youth actually developed, and when I say youth, it's like high school students and younger, developed an app and a Bluetooth device to actually see how much, by pound of green waste, of food waste that you're contributing to. So is there any, vision or outlook that can also include including like food waste and composting? Would love to see that in the study if we can.
Council Chair and Councilor Sena. We talked yesterday, and I told you that we do the green pickups twice a year. We have thought about expanding that, and I know I did talk to one of the other councilors to maybe doing it 3 times a year, but kind of expanding what we do, because what we currently do is all the green waste we receive, we mulch and we use it as slurry cover for the landfill. Now, if we didn't do that, that would be material we would have to purchase and bring in. So we do that currently, and it's a good practice that a lot of landfills use with their green waste. But we were considering looking at composting in the city prior to 2018, when the national flood hit. When our recycling program was really healthy and it wasn't costing a lot. I think at that point it only cost us $320,000. But we're kind of looking on how to expand. How can we expand our recycling programs? And then when 2018 hit and the market just turned on upside down, we kind of just said, let's just sustain what we have so that we don't reduce any services like other cities have done, and other cities even stopped recycling. So now that we kind of know what it looks like and we're going forward, we're open to studying and looking at other areas where we can expand.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm sure they'll be very excited to hear that.
Councilor Borrego.
Thank you. I just wanted to, and just to follow up with Councilor Senna's thought, I think we had talked about doing that as part of the Clean and Green program, Matthew, and I don't know if you remember that discussion, but I just wanted to remind us of that. The issue that I wanted to bring up, though, was with regard to technology recycling. And, you know, we all have those old phones and printers and stuff in our garage that we don't know what to do with. And I just wonder if we have any specialized programs for that particular type of, I don't know what we want to call it, commodity. It's not really a commodity anymore, but I guess it's that kind of waste.
Council Chair and Council Borrego, what we currently do is we partner with Albuquerque Metals, and at our convenience centers, we do have drop-off sites for that. But when it comes to the smaller items, such as a cell phone or anything like that, at this point, we don't have any kind of program. But when it comes to items that are larger and that can be used as scrap metal, we do collect those at our at Eagle Rock, and we do get that to Albuquerque Metal. Or if we have a large item pickup that is metal, we do partner with them.
I would like to see us look into that issue because I think, you know, I mean, as we move forward, and especially in this COVID environment, we're all operating off of electronics. So I think that it's something that we may want to try to develop. And I don't, you know, I'd be happy to sit down with you and talk a little bit more about how maybe we could move forward with something like that.
Absolutely.
Plus, I'll offer you all the cell phones I have in my garage.
All right, thanks. I think other councilors don't have any more questions. I do want to lend my support to Councilor Davis's statement. And I think one of the slides shows that the actual cost of our residential pickup still exceeds what's being asked for the rate increase. So I'm going to ask staff to look into that and just talk a little bit more with you, Director Whalen, about that. No need to get down into those nickels and dimes right now, but that's a 35-cent spread between what we were proposing. If you can get back to that cost of, was that it?
It's going to be keep going. One more up. Actually, you're going to go down. Down one more. Down one more. One more. That one.
Thought I saw it. There it is.
Yep. Yeah, the council chair, it shows that the 2019 cost of service was $16.90, and we're asking for $1.55. And like I said, this cost of service study does not include fiscal year 20 because we just finished it, and it doesn't take into account the effects of COVID-19.
Yeah, and my point on this, you know, despite regardless of the larger aspirations that Councilor Davis was referring to, just the fact that we know we have more of these alley cleanups. I agree. We have to be careful about the messaging on that because we still need to, based on our planning and our own city policies, the owners, property owners bordering on an alley do have responsibilities, but we also know that alleys end up being dumping areas that are not the fault of the adjacent owners. But then the homeless encampments, the cost of these services that you're providing that are not compensated for, and that still are a great benefit to the citizenry citywide, board ups, things like that. You know, I feel like we need to cover the cost that as citizens individually, we need to cover the cost of some of these kind of services. So we'll continue looking into that. I don't think there's any other questions for solid waste. So Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Chair Benton. Last, we have transit, but not least. Let me get to the slide. Transit Director Danny Holcomb, FY21 proposed operating budget of $47.4 million, 504 positions. The proposed budget includes a reduction of funding of $6.3 million that will be covered by CARES funding, FTA CARES funding. Next, $2.7 million was reduced for a mid-year reorganization of transit security to DMD. Next, $1.4 million is added for additional funding for driver overtime and ART costs. And the breakout of that is $615 for anticipated driver overtime and $784, round up $85,000 to necessitate ART costs for just the common use of operations for the ART. Next, we have $1.1 million is reduced in the fuel line item. And last, we have the general fund subsidy decrease by $8.3 million. And that is transit, Chair Benton.
A quick question myself on that. Actually, a couple. So noting the driver overtime, and I think we saw that there are a significant number of vacancy in the driver positions. That is obviously a concern and one that I know other counselors, along with myself, have continued to be concerned about the what we're paying our transit drivers, and just to compete with our own department or other departments once they get their certification and they compare to pay in other departments. We know that this is an issue, and I think we want to be of help on that. Also, one other question. There were some questions asked, I think, at the last council meeting, I believe by Councilor Sena, about the frequency on the ART buses. And it was kind of a confusing answer, at least to me, what I heard, which was that because of the pandemic and social distancing, we're having to run fewer ART buses, or in other words, fewer per hour or per 20 minutes or whatever it is. So I wanted to ask those two questions of the director.
Council Chair Benton and council staff, councilors, I'll go ahead and address the second one first, if you don't mind. We are actually running about 10-minute service on ART right now. Prior to the COVID epidemic or pandemic coming on, we were doing 7 to 10 minutes. So we're really close on the ART line as far as the level of service that we were offering. And I'm sorry, I apologize. Would you repeat the first part of the question?
The first part was driver salaries, and I'll have you comment on that, and we'll probably have some other counselors with questions.
Councilor Chair Benton, I may get my hand slapped, but I always want to try and advocate for more money for our drivers. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I know there are significant number of vacancies, right?
Councilor Chair Benton, we have right now we have 59 motor coach operator positions that are vacant. We work hard in fact, we have 10 drivers starting next week, 10 drivers starting the following week. The biggest thing for us is trying to find drivers that we can train to get their commercial driver's license and keep them once they've got that license. Then we don't lose them to another department or another position. So that's our biggest obstacle. We've done some things internally to try and revamp our training program, try and retain as many drivers as possible. We're seeing a little bit of success now, and hopefully over time that success will expand and we can keep as many drivers as possible.
Mr. President, if I might just add a comment to this. Director Holcomb has not been with the city through the entire course of Mayor Keller's administration. If you'll recall, at the beginning of the Mayor Keller's administration, the city council and the mayor supported a pretty significant increase to the drivers' compensation back 2 budgets ago. What we were experiencing at the time when we first came into office was a real, if you will, issue with drivers in the transit department opting to go to solid waste because drivers of solid waste were being paid a lot more. And what was happening is basically is that transit was the CDL training ground for solid waste operators. So what we did is that we increased the wages for solid waste, for transit drivers so that we could encourage more transit drivers to stay with the department. For the first couple of years, I think we did pretty well and in balancing that because we didn't see as many moving over, if you will, to the other department. But as things go and as inflation takes its toll on families, we would say that there's probably a need for yet another wage adjustment for both, in particular for transit operators. But let me just add one other component that I think Danny may have overlooked in his response to you. During COVID, one of the issues that occurred for across New Mexico in particular is that in order for CDL drivers to be able to get their CDL, there has to be a certification, if you will, of that of CDL drivers. The state of New Mexico is the entity that certifies CDL drivers. So when they shut down operations, if you will, because of COVID, we lost our CDL certification officer. So as a result, we couldn't get CDL drivers certified to drive motor coaches in particular. So we ended up having to use a lot of overtime and of course, the challenges with our CDL. I mean, our transit operators, more than any of our other employees, I would argue, maybe with the exception of APD and fire, have day-to-day interactions with a myriad of people. And so they are probably on the front lines experiencing the most interactions and are the most concerned about, testing positive and those sort of things. So we did a lot of work to help them stay safe. But my point is that it's a tough position to recruit for during these times, just because everyone is concerned about safety. But I just want to make sure that you all know that we are equally as interested in filling those positions. And we're working really hard with CNM and others to help bring in some training to help really fill those positions. But there is, I think, a need for us to look at those salaries yet again. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Rowell. Yeah, I mean, when you compare the position to solid waste drivers, not saying that they don't work really hard, but as a public servant myself, some of the interactions with the public are sometimes the most stressful, and the drivers on the ART buses, and as a rider myself, they do a great job, and they really got to, they've got to tackle a lot of individual behavior issues as well, and now with the pandemic on top of it. I know there's a lot of appreciation for them, and we need to show that where it counts. So let's see, we have some other counselors lined up to speak. Counselor Davis, then Sena, then Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Rowell, let me go to you really quickly, and then I'll go back to Mr. Holcomb, I guess. But Mr. Rowell, you mentioned that we'd had a hard time recruiting for drivers. I noted in some of the other budget documents that last year, I remember the administration, specifically the mayor's office, really wanted $500,000 to create some programs to help us fill these hard to fill positions in public safety and in transit. But I understand that we're almost a year in, and still that $500,000 has not generated any of the deliverables for, whatever it was supposed to be that was going to help us market the city of Albuquerque as a good employer. Do you have any information on that in terms of how it's impacting our ability to hire drivers?
You're good.
I think that's Mr. Rowell.
Mr. Chairman, this is Sanjay Bhakta.
Hey, Sanjay.
Hi. I think we are at the tail end of that contract. The last filming for that particular advertisement was filmed today, I believe. and we have been getting some updates. I don't have it with me right now, but we should be receiving the final product in matter of weeks. And then that campaign will be visible to everyone. But I think I agree with you. It took some time to figure out who would be working on that. The money was appropriated to HR, and then we realized that economic development has a better know-how to deal with this, and then they are dealing with our contractor, the Hispano Chamber. And as I mentioned, we should be seeing this deliverable in matter of weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Bhakta. That's a really useful piece. I'm just concerned that that was a priority for the administration last year for this very reason. And now we're being asked to come back and do the same thing. And obviously, like, this was not a COVID issue. This was something that was allocated in July of last year. And that the administration said they wanted to get out as a top priority. So again, I think we weren't aware that they were having issues or had changed departments for the funding. But it's been frustrating because we've heard from APD and from Transit every quarter that they're not meeting their goals or still behind in filling them. So I'm glad to hear that that's moving forward, and I appreciate it. Thank you. And then Mr. Director Holcomb or Mr. Real, whoever would like to, can you just give us a quick update? I'll make this as simple as I can. You know, this council passed a resolution last year that recommended and requested that the department move to free fare. And I realized that during COVID that put some things behind, but in the department's responses to the council about why that hadn't been done yet, it was noted that that was going to be a more expensive option to implement. And yet the department had gone to great lengths during COVID to implement systems for allowing free fare for all the youth and seniors, et cetera. Can you give us an update on free fare and why the departments decided to delay that when they were already doing the adjustment for other groups? Why not just go ahead and do it for everybody?
Mr. Chairman and Mr. President, excuse me, I'm going to ask Danny to answer the first part of that question, and then I'll chime in after he presents that.
So Chair Benton and Councilor Davis, excuse me, we have free fares for youth 18 and under. We are planning to expand that or run that through the end of the fiscal year. We also have free fares for veterans. This applies to both Sunvan and our fixed route operations system. What we'd like to do is do a phased-in approach where we do those two programs now, and possibly in FY22, maybe do some free fares for seniors, and then at some point bring in free fare system-wide. That's kind of the plan that we've talked about.
Director, thank you. Well, let Mr. Real respond. Go ahead.
And Mr. Chairman and Mr. Councilor Davis, let me just say, and members of the council, one of the interesting issues with the situation that we find ourselves in, you obviously know that part of the COVID funds that went directly to transit are to continue to keep the operations of that department going forward. Obviously, at some point, depending on how long COVID lasts, we will be back in a scenario where general fund dollars will be needed to help subsidize the transit department. I think our perspective was in answering that question was that we have free fares going forward now. We are trying to do a phased-in approach. We are 3 or 4 months into this fiscal year. If we can move that forward in a much more expedited manner to try and get free service down the road sooner, we certainly want to look at that. But we thought it would be prudent just to do the free service that we're currently in place, move it forward with veterans and seniors, and look at how that impacts our budget, and then maybe come back with a proposal to you in the next budget to have you consider potentially a system-wide service.
Mr. Real, I thank you and I appreciate it. And you're always one that knows how to make things work. And I appreciate that. And I don't discount that. I just recall from these conversations last time that administering the fare service with all those complicated 22 different fare rates, as I recall, some free, some not, was costing us about $400,000 a year. And at the time when we're not generating any fare revenue essentially during COVID, or not much, and we have other money that's providing for operations, it seems to me that this is the ideal time to go ahead and do that. The department and the administration enthusiastically supported this plan because it ultimately would save us money if we ever got to a place where operations were funded in other sources. And I think this is that time. It seems to me that instead of just doing it across the board, we've done a whole lot of extra work to piecemeal it, and that takes a lot of administrative time. We've heard, I will tell you, we've heard from union drivers that through their labor union and their right to speak to us that some people are free, some people are not. Are they 18? Are they not? Are they a senior or not? Are they a veteran? Are they not? Is just causing issues for drivers who have to have more time at the door to engage with individuals when we all work through the process to make our bus system free. I appreciate what you're saying, but I really want to see us do this. It's something we decided was important for us. It was important for equity. It was important for folks that do have to work and can't afford it and need transit for all of those medical options. I'd love to see us do that. I'd like to see the council come back and make that continue the commitment we did when we passed that resolution and said we're going to do it this year. I'd like to see us finish that job. It seems to me that this is the time, and I'm willing to have that conversation again. I just think we went through this before, and I understand that there's a lot going on, but it just seems to me that one of the things we heard was that we would have to do less work and it would cost us less money to just go free fare. And so it seems appropriate to me to do that now. So I'd love to revisit that before we get to final budget. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know I've asked a lot of questions tonight, but I'll be quiet now. That's my last one for the whole night, I promise.
Councilor Sena.
Thank you for that, Mr. Chair. So my question is, I actually have quite a bit, but I believe my staff's going to follow up with you, Director Holcomb, to get a meeting scheduled to get some of the finer details, especially to the question that was posed during the council meeting where constituents were just having concern and lack of access to not just, ART, but actually ART-X along cores. But my question is regarding the transfer of the transit security, kind of similar to what was asked to DMD. Is it how many of it, is it all of transit security, and will their job titles and expectations be the same?
Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, and Councilor Sena, if you'll recall, it may be because of the timing, when ART was first implemented, we had dedicated transit security personnel to the ART corridor as part of the original, if you will, envision and program for ART. During the course of implementing ART, et cetera, it became apparent that we needed to augment the system with additional security personnel. And as a result, rather than having, if you will, ART security people reporting to one department and then augmenting ART security people from another department, that we'd all consolidate them under the Department of Municipal Development. So that's why they're all in that department. And we've not really tried to make a distinction between who is ART and who is security, just because flexibility is more important than necessarily the title, if you will. So, but in the new department that's being created, we are moving some of the original folks that were part of the transit, if you will, program into the new community safety department to expand their roles in the corridor to not just deal with ART issues, et cetera. But at the end of the day, the ART program will be covered by more DND security, just because of the flexibility in their titles and in their work functions.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I still have some follow-up questions, especially for Director Holcomb, but I'll take those offline and have Elaine schedule a meeting.
All right, next is Councilor Gibson and then Councilor Pena.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is about the pay scale for the motor coach drivers. I'm looking at a chart now. with the 4 steps, the lowest step 1 being at $14.28, the highest being at $20.12. And I wonder if the director might be able to give me an idea of where the motor coach drivers fall into that. I understand, so correct me if my understanding is incorrect, that the department does not really use those steps to advance pay for the drivers. It's kind of an artifact, I think, from bygone contracts. But so I guess that's question number 1. And question number 2 is, where do most of our drivers fall into in those steps, please?
Council Chair, Councilor Gibson. Again, with Councilor Benton, most of our drivers are at $16.32 an hour, which is kind of, as if you have the pay scale in front of you. I don't, I apologize. But most of our drivers are right around $16.32 an hour. We have a few a little bit higher, and obviously our newer ones are a little bit less than that. The contract that we have with our drivers is it's a bargaining union contract, and we negotiate with that union to try and work on salaries, work on conditions, and things like that. But it's all according to the union contract that's in place.
Okay, so thank you for that, Director. So is it also generally true that drivers don't advance using the steps like may have been done many years ago?
Yes, Counselor, that's correct, based on the union contract.
Okay, then third question, then I'm really done, and that is how does the 1632 compare with solid waste drivers?
Most solid waste drivers are at $19.34 an hour.
Oh, so about $3 difference. Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
Councilor Pena.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just first want to start off by saying thank you for your email, Director. I really appreciate it regarding the Sunvan tickets. I'm glad you're really working on it. But just so that you know, I did go to the platform and it's broken where you can purchase the tickets. But anyway, aside from that, I wanted to say that if you recall, I had actually asked for a study, I think when I was first elected, and there was a study that was conducted that actually allowed for, that, highlighted that discrepancy in how lower our transit drivers are paid. Hopefully we can dust that off and look at it. I don't know how relevant it is, but there was kind of a gradual increase worked in there. And one of the things, Director, and I guess this is a long-winded question again, just to ask you that, because I think once we actually gave them the increases last time, there was some issues with steps. And it was my understanding that the steps were eliminated. And that's why most drivers now, it bumped everybody up into a certain step. Can you help just to clarify that for me? Because I know that it sounds like some counselors are looking at giving the drivers an increase. I'm totally supportive of that. That's one of my big issues. But I just want to know ahead of time, I know we can't get into negotiations, but what are some of the barriers that might occur as a result of the union negotiations?
Councilor Chair and Councilor Pena, I can get you the information as much as I can on steps and how they progress throughout the years. I wasn't here when that study was done. I'd love to see it myself so I can see exactly what was discussed and what everyone came up with. I have not seen that, but I'd love to see it.
Oh, okay. Because, yeah, and if you can get the question answered, whether the steps were eliminated, because, when we went through all that work as a council to get them that initial increase, and we found out the next year, I think, if my memory serves me correctly, that we found out the next year that they hadn't gotten the increases because there was, some of the drivers through the negotiations, some of the drivers were going to get more. And so talked to one of the union representatives and I said, well, que relaje, you guys need to work together so that you can actually get rid of the steps so that it can all bring you guys, you know, in line with each other. And it was my understanding that that had happened. So let me know. I'd appreciate that as we move forward with this budget cycle.
Absolutely will. Thank you. Thank you for bringing
Okay,
that to my attention. I wasn't aware of that.
And Mr. Chairman, let me just also, just for the council's information, and particularly Councilor Pena. So in the labor negotiations, what happened after the council and the administration agreed to increasing the compensation for transit drivers, in the union negotiations, the steps were collapsed. There,
Yes.
I think now, I think 4 steps that are in the current contract. Before there was up to 7 or 8. So
Right.
what happened is that they collapsed the steps, and as in most of the union negotiations, they're by seniority and by longevity in the department. What Danny described to you is that for most of the drivers that were working for the city, they were all moved up to about $16 and some change, because that was when they collapsed the steps, that's where the most drivers fell. There are some drivers that are above that and some that are entry level that are below. But as you all know, that's always a negotiation with the union. And
Right, and we can't get into that. I just do recall that I thought they had eliminated them, but you're right. They collapsed most of them because there was all kinds of steps. And so basically the drivers that were starting up could never get to the step of the higher tiered steps, and they were getting the higher increase, and then the lower level what wasn't. So thanks for refreshing my memory. I appreciate it. And I kind of remember that number 1672, because that's where I think the consensus landed. So that gives us a good starting point. If you could just give us the updated numbers, but that gives us a good starting point if that's what the will of the other counselors is. And que relaje, I shouldn't have said that, but that's like, oh my God. So
thank
All
you,
right.
Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rell and Director Holcomb. I think that's our last presentation, right?
That concludes our presentation, Chair Benton.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. All right, we will move some deferrals here. On 037, that's amending the section of the revised ordinances for the municipal solid waste ordinance to update effective date of rate change and amending the rate table appendix to incorporate a residential rate increase in the rate appendix and amending the rate table. I move deferral till October 15th. There's a second by Councilor Bassan. Thank you. And call the roll.
Counselor Bassan,
Yes.
Counselor Borrego,
Yes.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Gibson,
Yes.
Counselor Harris,
I'm starting in Santa Fe. We're going to LFC.
Counselor Harris,
Yes.
Counselor Jones,
yes.
Counselor Pena,
Yes.
Counselor Sena, Counselor Sena,
Yes.
Counselor Benton,
Yes.
and the deferral passes on a 9-0 vote.
All right, next is R98, adjusting the appropriating funds for the operation of the government of the city for FY21, beginning July 1st and ending June 30th. Move deferral until October 15th. There's a second by Councilor Davis. Thank you.
Counselor Bassan,
And Ms. Montoya.
Yes.
Counselor Borrego,
Yes.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Gibson,
Yes.
Counselor Harris,
Yes.
Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Counselor Pena,
Yes.
Counselor Sena,
Yes.
and Counselor Benton.
Yes.
The deferral passes on a 9-0 vote.
All right, and last is R99, establishing one-year objectives for the city in fiscal year 2021 to meet 5-year goals. I move deferral to October 15th. And Counselor Sena, thank you for the second.
Counselor Bassan,
Yes.
Counselor Borrego,
Yes.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Gibson,
Yes.
Counselor Harris,
Yes.
Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Counselor Pena,
Yes.
Counselor Sena,
Yes.
and Counselor Benton.
Yes.
And that passes on a 9-0 vote deferral.
All right, we have one more. This is Counselors Pena and Sena, R85. Would you like to move a deferral on this? I'll read it if you like.
Thank you.
Supplementing priorities for the capital, this is R85, supplementing priorities for the capital implementation program by implementing a racial equity criterion to be used in the development of the plan. And so there was a motion by Councilor Pena and a second, I believe, by Councilor Harris.
Counselor Bassan,
Yes.
Counselor Borrego,
Yes.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Gibson,
Yes.
Counselor Harris,
Yes.
Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Counselor Pena,
Yes.
Counselor Sena,
Yes.
Counselor Benton.
Yes.
And that passes on a 9-0 vote deferral.
All right, thanks everyone. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.